Think about the last time you experienced a change. Did you feel uncomfortable, scared, frustrated, or were you excited to experience something new? Leaving the comfort and safety of the known for the unknown can be difficult, which is why organizations must manage change well. Change management refers to the process of implementing a change and the skill of guiding people through change. Before we dive into change management fundamentals, let's first review what organizational change means. Organizations undergo many types of change. The change may be planned, like instituting a new software platform, or unplanned, like responding to a crisis. Whether planned or unplanned, change typically falls into one of three categories. Developmental change is the most common type of change, and it encompasses improvements to current procedures. Examples of developmental change include shifts in performance expectations and updates to procedures. Transitional change is more complex and requires letting go of something old and embracing something new. Examples of transitional change include technology adoptions, mergers, or the addition of new products and services. Transformational change is the most radical type of change and results in a fundamental shift in the organization. At the outset of transformational change, the future is largely unknown. This change includes major cultural shifts, drastic reform of a company's offerings, or significant changes to the business model. Responding to change effectively begins with understanding what is prompting it. External forces of change originate outside the company. These are factors primarily outside an organization's control. Internal forces of change develop within the company's environment. Let's look at some common examples of external and internal forces of change. Some common examples of external forces of change in an organization include technological innovations, especially those that become the industry norm or significantly improve the current technology. Government forces, like changes in the political landscape, new regulations, or deregulation efforts. Economic forces, like a recession, supply chain disruptions, or fluctuations in supply and demand. Competitive forces, such as pressure from new or existing competitors, emerging markets, or the introduction of global competitors. And customer-driven forces, like persistent negative customer feedback, the loss of customers to competitors, or shifting customer expectations. Internal forces of change typically begin with dissatisfaction with the status quo and the desire to get to some future state. Let's take a look at some examples of internal forces of change. Some common examples of internal forces of change in an organization include the introduction of new leadership, especially when new leaders prompt a shift in the company's culture or values. Low performance or consistent failure to meet expectations requiring a change to remedy it. Structural issues, like the persistent lack of cross-functional communication, managerial staff changes, or the lack of cooperation between teams. An internal crisis, like a lawsuit, employee strike, or scandal. Cost-cutting measures, such as layoffs or significant budget reductions. And a changing workforce, like an influx of younger workers who have significant generational differences from their older, outgoing counterparts. Regardless of the type of change a company faces, the change will likely cause disruptions. The goal of change management is to minimize disruptions and successfully navigate change. Understanding two key aspects of change management can guide the way. The first function of change management is establishing a process. This includes all the steps necessary to guide an organization through the phases of change, including recognizing the need for change, proposing a change, assessing readiness, planning and implementing the change, and ongoing monitoring of the change's effectiveness. The second function of change management is as a competency and includes everything necessary to guide people through change. This is often referred to as the people side of change. Empowering employees to embrace change through communication, support, and training are important components of change management. Let's face it, in work, as in life, change is inevitable. Despite knowing that change is always around the corner, it can still induce anxiety, insecurity, and fear. A framework for change management can mitigate the risks and negative emotions associated with change. Let's take a look at some benefits of change management. First, change management increases the likelihood of a successful change. Research indicates that nearly half of organizational changes result in failure, but organizations that apply change management practices fare much better. Why? Because a planned approach allows organizations to be proactive instead of reactive and avoid common obstacles like low adoption rates, employee resistance, and wasted resources. Second, being prepared for change prevents an organization from becoming stagnant. In today's rapidly changing marketplace, organizations must be willing and agile to embrace change. Failing to prepare for change may result in missed opportunities. Finally, change management can improve morale during transitions. Being blindsided by change or not having enough information to understand its purpose can create feelings of unease and uncertainty for employees. Effective change management includes communication strategies and the support and resources necessary to guide people through change in a healthy way. Mismanaged change can cause hurt feelings, confusion, and even chaos. The only certainty is that change will come, and organizations ready to meet it with a robust change management plan will have a far better chance of success.